It's March 7th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a neurological mystery that made men leap with a single word, a mind trapped in silence, communicating with nothing but a blink, and a warship vanishes without explanation. Let's begin. On March 7th, 1880, doctors presented one of the strangest medical mysteries ever observed in the forests of North America. Deep in the logging camps near Moosehead Lake, Maine, lumberjacks had begun reporting something deeply unsettling about a group of French-Canadian workers. At first, it sounded like a joke, but witnesses kept telling the same story. If you suddenly shouted near certain men, they would explode into motion. They leapt violently in the air, they screamed without meaning to, and sometimes they repeated the exact word shouted at them, a symptom known as echolalia. Other times, if someone shouted a command, "Throw your axe," "Drop your tools," the men would obey instantly before even realizing what they'd been doing. The bizarre condition caught the attention of neurologist George Miller Beard, who studied the phenomenon and reported it to the American Neurological Association. He called the sufferers jumping Frenchmen of Maine. The men themselves were otherwise healthy, strong lumberjacks who worked brutal jobs in isolation, yet sound could turn their own bodies against them. Some researchers believed it was a neurological disorder, others thought it was psychological, or even something learned within a strange culture of remote logging camps. The mystery was never fully solved. Many of the men lived long lives. Some even controlled the jumping, while others never did. In the quiet forests of Maine, their stories persist about lumberjacks who could be controlled with a single shout. On March 7, 1997, a book was published in France that seemed almost impossible to write. Its author was Jean-Dominique Bauby, who hadn't spoke a word or moved his body in over a year. Just 15 months earlier, Bauby was a charismatic editor-in-chief of the famous magazine Elle. His life was fast, glamorous, and filled with travel, fashion, and conversation. Then, in December of '95, everything went silent. A massive stroke left the 43-year-old trapped inside his own body with a rare neurological condition known as locked-in syndrome. He could not move, he could not speak, he could not even gesture. The only part of his body he could still control was his left eyelid. Most people would have been completely cut off from the world, but he refused to disappear. Working with a speech therapist and an assistant named Claude Mendeville, he began dictating a book, one blink at a time. They used a special alphabet ordered by letter frequency, and the assistant slowly read the letters out loud. Bauby would blink when the correct one was spoken. Each word took dozens of blinks, each sentence hundreds. Over the course of 2 exhausting months, working 3 hours a day, every single day, he blinked around 200,000 times to complete his memoir. He titled it The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. The diving bell represented his paralyzed body, and the butterfly his still free mind. Unfortunately, only 2 days after the book was published, he died of pneumonia. His voice had finally reached the world, just as his own life quietly slipped away. On March 7, 1918, the United States opened an investigation into a disappearance so strange it would haunt maritime history. The missing vessel was a massive U.S. cargo ship, the USS Cyclops, a 540 steel ship carrying 309 passengers and crew, as well as over 11,000 tons of magnesium core. Just days earlier, the ship had departed from Barbados, bound for Baltimore, but there was already a reason for concern. One of the ship's engines wasn't working. The vessel was heavy with cargo, and its captain, George W. Worley, had a reputation for strange behavior and tense relations with his crew. But the Cyclops simply vanished. No distress signal, no emergency radio transmission, no wreckage floating in the ocean. The ship and everyone aboard disappeared somewhere in the Atlantic without leaving a single trace. In the middle of World War I, rumors spread quickly. Some believed a German submarine had destroyed the ship, others suspected structural failure or a storm. Decades later, the disappearance would become one of the most famous mysteries connected to the Bermuda Triangle. The fate of the USS Cyclops was never solved, and all 309 people aboard were lost. Despite investigations, theories, and countless searches, to this day, its fate has never been solved. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.